The wind howled through the forest, rustling the snow-laden branches of the tall pines. It was an unusually cold morning, and old John knew the forest better than anyone. He had spent his entire life in these woods, checking traps, gathering firewood, and ensuring the wildlife was kept in check. But today, something felt different. The usual quiet was broken by an unsettling sound, a low, desperate cry that cut through the otherwise peaceful landscape. It wasn't the call of a wolf or the sound of an elk in distress. This cry was something else, something Jack had never heard before. John's heart raced as he stopped in his tracks. It was a sound that seemed to echo from the depths of the forest, faint but filled with so much pain. Instinctively, he knew that something was wrong. He followed the cry, his boots crunching through the snow, but the closer he got, the more his stomach tightened with dread. He knew the woods. He'd always known the woods. But this felt different. He had never encountered anything like this. As he moved deeper into the forest, the cry grew louder. His breath came out in visible puffs as he hastened his steps, his mind racing. When he finally reached the source of the sound, his heart nearly stopped. A massive bear lay on the ground, its enormous body writhing in agony. Its thick fur was matted with frost, and its leg was caught in an old, cruel steel trap. The pain in the bear's eyes was unmistakable. It had been there for hours, struggling to free itself, but the trap had kept it firmly in place. The bear's growls were low and guttural, a painful mixture of anger and desperation. But despite its suffering, it wasn't attacking. It wasn't even trying to bite or lash out. Instead, the bear's gaze turned slowly toward John. Its eyes were filled with fear and confusion. But there was something else. Something more profound. A silent plea for help. John stood frozen for a moment. He had seen wild animals before, saw them in his traps and worked around them. But this was different. He had never seen an animal so vulnerable, so in need of help, and yet, still, so dangerous. A wounded bear wasn't something to take lightly. It could easily turn on him. He weighed his options, standing still, trying to assess the situation. He could hear the bear's heavy breathing, the sharp intake of air that signified its growing panic. But it wasn't charging. It wasn't attacking. The bear simply lay there, its massive form shaking, eyes locked onto John's, waiting, as if it knew this was its last chance. John took a slow, cautious step forward. His hand trembled as he reached for his gear, but he couldn't afford to hesitate. If the bear was to survive, he had to act quickly. The wound on its leg was severe, and the trap had left a deep gash. Every minute that passed, the bear's chances of survival grew slimmer. John knew the risk. He knew this was dangerous. A bear in pain could lash out without warning. But somehow, despite the fear gripping him, he felt something else. A pull, a need to help. He took another step, moving closer to the bear. The animal's eyes never left him. John's heart pounded in his chest as he slowly lowered himself to his knees, bringing himself to the same level as the bear. He could see the blood, the tears in the animal's eyes. It was a struggle. John knew he was facing a living creature, one that could kill him if it chose to. But this bear wasn't acting like a predator. It wasn't attacking. It was trusting. John reached into his bag, pulling out his tools. He was careful, methodical. He knew he didn't have much time. The bear's leg was swollen, and it was only a matter of time before infection set in. The trap had to come off. He reached for the trap, trying to pry open the steel jaws, but the mechanism was old and stiff. His hands shook as he worked, and the bear let out another low growl, but still, it didn't attack. It was as if the bear was waiting for him to finish, to set it free. The growl was softer now, more of a cry than a warning. Jack felt his heart race faster as he continued working. His hands were trembling, his breath shallow. Each second mattered. One wrong move and the bear could snap. It could tear him apart before he even knew what hit him. But he had no choice. He had to free it. With a final tug, the trap released. The metal jaws sprang open and the bear's leg was free. It let out a soft cry, its body shaking even more now that the trap was off. John stepped back slowly, taking in the moment. The bear wasn't attacking. It wasn't running away either. For a brief second, Everything was still. The bear's heavy breath echoed in the silence, and John stood there, frozen, unsure of what would happen next. But what happened next was something neither of them expected. As John stood back, waiting for the bear to react, something remarkable happened. The bear didn't bolt into the woods. It didn't lunge at him in anger. Instead, it stood slowly, cautiously, its legs still trembling from the injury. The bear's massive body was stiff, but it made its way toward him with surprising grace. John remained still, watching the bear closely, his heart racing. The wildness of the situation, the unpredictability of what could happen next, gripped him. But the bear didn't charge or growl. It walked closer to him, its head lowered, its eyes fixed on John. For a moment, there was complete silence between them. The bear's deep brown eyes locked onto John's, and in that moment, something shifted. The bear stopped right in front of John. Its huge body loomed over him, but instead of reacting with aggression, it nudged him gently with its head. It was a soft nudge, almost like a gesture of gratitude. John was too stunned to react at first. The bear, the wild animal he had just freed, was showing him an unexpected form of trust. It was something so far beyond what he had imagined. For a few moments, they simply stood there. The man and the bear. One human, one beast, sharing a silent connection in the heart of the wilderness. The bear, injured and exhausted, was relying on John in a way no one could have expected. There was no growl, no attempt to attack, only a moment of understanding that transcended the predator-prey relationship. John reached out tentatively, his hand brushing the bear's thick fur. It was warm, but it wasn't the warmth of a predator. It was the warmth of an animal in need, one that had given up fighting. It wasn't afraid of him anymore. The bear trusted him. For just a moment, the bond between man and beast had been forged in a way that was pure and unspoken. Then, without a sound, the bear slowly turned and limped away, disappearing into the trees. It paused for just a second, looking back at John one last time before it vanished into the depths of the forest. John stood there, his heart still pounding in his chest, unable to move. He couldn't believe what had just happened. The bear hadn't just been freed from a trap. It had given him something more. It had shown him a trust he hadn't earned, but one that had been given nonetheless. And with that trust came a lesson in vulnerability, in the rawness of the wild, and in the unexpected moments when two creatures from entirely different worlds connect in a way that words can't explain. As the bear disappeared into the forest, John knew that this moment, this rare encounter, would stay with him forever. The wilderness had shown him something extraordinary, a glimpse into a bond between man and nature that few people would ever experience.